Hello everyone, thank you for joining this webinar to look at field service for Microsoft Dynamics 365. I'm Warren Butler, and joining me this morning to lead the presentation is my colleague Daniel Hunter. Just a few bits of housekeeping to kick off. We've set the lines to mute to remove any background noise, but please do use the chat panel that you'll see to ask any questions as we go, and at the end we'll run through those and give you some answers. We are recording the session, so hopefully later on today you'll get a link to that. The session this morning is scheduled to run for about 45 minutes. And the aim is to give you an introduction to the capabilities of the new Dynamics 365 app for field service. I'll start by sharing some background detail before handing over to Daniel, who will give you a live demonstration, and we'll finish off with a look at how field service is licensed. A very quick introduction for the benefit of anyone on the call that's not previously worked with Preact. We're a CRM partner leading with Microsoft Dynamics. Trading since 1993, we support well over 5,000 CRM users. We focus purely on the CRM market, and we hold Microsoft's top accreditations for CRM and cloud solutions. And as the graphic shows, our services include helping users across the full range of CRM requirements. That's including training, consultancy, user support, as well as our managed service, and that combines break-fix support with a bank of consultancy and training hours that can be used for any Dynamics requirements. So let's kick off with a definition of what field service is. And it's traditionally where a field technician completes work at a business or home. And there are traditionally three main types of field service. There's an installation job, and that could cover things like installation of a security alarm or maybe an air conditioning unit. The second type is recurring maintenance. That might be an inspection or changing components on previously installed equipment. And there are break-fix or repair jobs, which are undertaken when a problem is reported and a technician is dispatched. These are the main types, but there can be other examples of field service jobs, for example, home care visits. Essentially, field service solutions is about getting the right person to the right place at the right time with the right skills and equipment. And regardless of the appointment type, the challenge for any field service organisation has always been to ensure both customer satisfaction and also resource productivity. But often those two challenges are in direct competition. If field service technicians spend more time with customers, the satisfaction levels will usually increase, but often that's at the cost of productivity because fewer jobs are completed. Microsoft Dynamics 365 for field service is designed to give organizations new tools to break that cycle by helping them to transform processes which boost both metrics, and that's through first-time fix rates, advanced scheduling, predictive servicing, resource optimization, and many other improvements. So before we start the live demonstration, let's just have a quick look at a field service workflow, a typical field service workflow, to demonstrate the breadth of the application. So once a field service agreement is in place, jobs can be logged for a customer. Firstly, field service work orders can be converted from Dynamics cases, phone calls, and even social media mentions whenever on-site work is needed. The next step is to schedule someone for the work, and that's a crucial step because agents will often make service promises to the customer, and getting that scheduling right is important to ensure that that promise is delivered. And in a few minutes we'll take a look at the schedule board and show you how this is handled and how appointment gaps can be found. Once a job is confirmed, customer notifications can be sent out via multiple channels, and that can include SMS text updates using some Twilio integration. Part of the process to ensure that each job can be completed is to make sure that the right parts are on the van. So Dynamics 365 Field Service can also leverage inventory management. This uses real-time information, including updates from field technicians using a mobile app about the parts that are consumed. And once a job is complete, the customer signs off on the work, and if needed, payment can be completed. And then back at the office, managers will review the work orders and they'll close these off. So that's just one example of how Dynamics 365 for field service can handle these type of workflows and how it provides end-to-end processing, and this will vary to fit each requirement. So I'm going to pass the presentation across to Daniel now.
Morning. There we go. Okay, you should all now be looking at a lovely picture of Dynamics 365. We're going to be starting our story today in our service management area, so with a service case. So you're probably all familiar with how service cases and CRM work. We're just going to drop into it here, have a quick look around. So using Dynamics 365, so some of this might look a little bit different to some of you. We've got the standard sort of, bars at the top here, but a few other bits and pieces that have been brought in with 365. In this case, we've got a service case here that there is an issue with one of our security boxes. So let's see, the customer's called in to report a fault with the version 8 sec box, and we're going to schedule an engineer visit. So normally with Dynamics CRM, we're at this point just be using cases and working them through to a resolution. However, we can now turn this into a field service work order and get somebody out on site to go and fix this issue. So if we go over to the side here and click onto work orders, we can now associate this case with a new field service work order. I click the new one there, this one appear at the top here, there we go. So we can see the account that this case has been logged to coming in here and the sort of incident that it is. So we've got a camera down. We'll need to pick a work order type, which will sort of determine who and what gets sent out on this one. So this is going to be a service call. And it's pre-populated all the stuff down here. So all I need to do now is save that. So from a service management point of view, I've now, there we go, created a new open unscheduled work order that is now ready to be scheduled in by the bookings team. So let's just have a quick look at that and how that's made. So automatic numbers, first thing to point here, automatic numbers in work orders. So this is work order 61. And as you see here, service account litware, incident type camera down. We can set a priority at this point if we want to. So I'm just going to say it's a urgent one, and we'll now go on to the next stage. We've filled in all those things and ticked all those boxes. Standard process flows across the top here, as you're probably fairly used to with Dynamics CRM, Dynamics 365. Again, got a couple more bits here, but I'm going to just scroll down the page here a little bit just to show you some of the other bits that are available in this field service work order. So as we come down here, a camera down is defined in the system as an incident type, and that incident type has an estimated duration, how long it normally takes to do these sorts of things. So in this case it's 2 hours. We've linked back to the case that the work order originated from. We've got a link to any bookings that are made for any engineers actually going out on site, and we'll come back to that later on. And then as we scroll down the page here, obviously preferred resources, so if there's an engineer that the customer particularly likes to deal with, or there's a time of day that needs to happen, or there's a specific date window that this thing needs to happen in, then all these can be filled in here. I'm not going to fill in any of those because I want as soon as possible anybody who's available. And as we look, there's lots and lots of different bits and pieces down here. So any service tasks that are associated with a camera down. So these are actually work items that the engineer will be performing on site. So you've got a lot of 3 little work items and then the signature at the bottom. Any products that we know that the customer has. So in this case, we can see they've got the F95 security camera and an outdoor motion sensor. Services that we may be required to perform on site. So in this case, with based on the case, we're estimating there's going to need to be some circuit restoration, which normally takes 1 hour, and this is the cost of it. And we've got the address of the customer here, and a location down the bottom here, which is not loaded on this occasion. So at this point now, this would now become the purview of either the operations team or the bookings team to actually decide who it is they're going to be sending out on site and when they're going to be going. So in order to get this started, we'll need to go over to the schedule board, which is one of the prettier parts of field service. So click over to there now. And as we can see here, we've now got a schedule board up and running. So we've got all our engineers down the side here. So David, Elliot, a time, so how many hours they're being logged for today, and a utilization on the day. So as we see David here, pretty stacked for the day, whereas Chris down the bottom here, very low utilization for the day. He's got a lot of time in the afternoon should anything else come in that needs attention. So we're looking at the colors here. So we've got a green, so this job has been started and completed today. David's been out on site and he's now purple, traveling to his next location. These darker blue ones are all currently still in progress, and these lighter blue ones are all ready to be done later on in the day. And as we go through the demonstration too, you may see some of these change colour as these engineers finish their tasks and stuff. So it's a real-time view, both from the engineer's point of view on their devices, but also from the bookings point of view for the schedule manager to see what's going on and who's doing what and where they are in the country and on their jobs. So down the bottom here, we can see we've got unscheduled work orders. So these are work orders that have popped up since we've scheduled all these things in, and we can see down the bottom here, we've got our service call for Litware. So if we click on that, open that one up again. What we will need to be doing from here now is using the schedule assistant, which is the clever bit of field service technology that basically looks at who you've got, looks at what skills they have, what their availability is, and suggests who the best people are to be doing this particular job. So we can find this at the top here. I'm just going to maximize this window up. There we go, and this one. And here we have the schedule assistant. So in this case then, we want this, we've booked in today, within, anybody who's within 20 miles of the account and customer, they will need the electrical skill. So skills will come on to a little bit later on, but all resources can have skills assigned to them. So different people can do different sorts of jobs, and their skills are controlled by the system. And you obviously won't send anybody out to a job that they don't have the skills to do, sort of thing. And as we can see here, one person within 20 miles of this customer, Chris, who we mentioned earlier, has got a bit of a slow day today, and we can book him in a start time of 11:30 and an end time of 1:30. He's actually apparently at that customer site at the moment, so that's even better. So we can schedule that and close that off. We do that, and then we head back to the service board here, schedule board rather, and we'll see that new appointment is now been scheduled for Chris in his schedule board. Down a bit, there we go. So that's now Chris's second job today. This is the first one that he's doing here, and this is the second one that he's doing. So, marvellous. Right, so in terms of engineers and scheduling stuff, they will then use their app, which we're going to be looking at a little bit later, to access all this same sort of information. So they'll get updates as to what jobs they're doing and stuff. So as we can see here, now Kian, this has gone green, so he's now on his app decided that he's now finished this job, so that's gone green now, and eventually he's got a bit of a break here, so maybe he'll be doing something for himself, but then we start traveling to this next job. And once he starts his travel, he'll set I'm traveling on his app to the job, and then he'll show us purple in the schedule view. So if you're looking at this from a booking point of view, you've always got a good idea where the engineers are, where they are on the jobs, when they're going, whereabouts they are. So next part of the schedule board is the map area. So instead of this just being, a list of calendar information, we can click over to here. And now we get a geographical view of where our engineers are and where the jobs are that they're supposed to be doing in the day. So if I go down to here, switch this to automatic, and as we can see here, we've got further 2 unscheduled work orders. So if we wanted to, we could click on these, just check out where they are. There's the first one there, so that's Woodgrove Medical, and looks like who's that? That's another job there. So it looks like no one's really very near that, so that's going to have to be a long drive for somebody. And the other one here, we've got nod publishers. Again, looks like no one's fairly near that, so that's going to have to be a bit out of the way. So these are ones that have not been automatically scheduled, and they are out of the way, and we'll need to have a conversation perhaps with one of the engineers, like, do you mind driving all this way to go and do this job? So that's probably why they've been left down the bottom there. But you can do this. The maps will obviously scroll out, scroll in to where you need them to be. You can turn people on or off as appropriate. So if you don't necessarily want to see David, just turn David off, refresh that there, and then he'll go away. So again, lots of control over how visually you're looking at things. If you're looking for patterns or looking for best routes to places and which order to schedule things in, you can do that from the thing. So lots of power there. Right, we're just going to stop for a minute here and drop over to the interface for the engineers. So bear with me a second while I switch that over. Right, here we go. So I'm going to minimize this one down. I'm going to minimize this one down. Right, there we go. So this is the mobile application for field service. This would work on an iPad, an Android tablet. It works on a phone, any sort of modern smartphone. And as we can see here, we're looking at this as if we are Chris. So we can see here, Chris is currently in progress at this job, arrived at 9:30. It was supposed to be there at 9:40. Scheduled end time is 11:30. It's got a 2-hour job. And we can see from here, this is all just touch controlled, where he's supposed to be, what he's supposed to be doing, where he's supposed to be going next. So if we click on this 11 o'clock one that's just appeared in his diary, you can see, okay, well, I haven't actually got to go anywhere. This is exactly the same place that I am now, so I can get straight on and do this job. Look at information here, see what it is. Oh, okay, it's another camera down. Great. Any follow-ups required or anything else after he's done the job? We're going to do the call with logged in here. So I'm just going to return to our current job here. And Chris has been on this now since 9:30. He's a hard worker. He's now decided that I've finished this job. So he now goes to completed. And as the engineer, that was all he had to do. Now he's completed the thing. It's now prompting him to say, will a follow-up be required? We're going to say yes. We're going to say recommend monthly check based on error. There we go. So again, let's link all this through. We could select it to a specific contact if we wanted to. We can say that I promise that I'm going to be here in the morning, or I promise that I'll not be here after 5:30, etc., etc. Just going to hit that there. And that has then cleared that from our schedule there. Now, because we're now in the same place, we can now move straight onto this job. And this one is scheduled. We can say, okay, no, this is now in progress. So hit save there. Oh, sorry, this is trying to synchronize. So this app, just to come on to that, you can work offline and you can work online. So at the moment, I'm working offline with synchronization. If I wanted to, I could click the little box up here and just go completely online, and then it wouldn't keep doing this synchronization thing. But if you're out and about in a car or whatever else, you won't need to know exactly where you are and where you're going at all times. So best to be using offline mode, and then you're not going to be using up your bandwidth or anything else, unless you actually need to. So I'm just going to go back into here now. So this is our second job of the day. And as you can see here, start time was 10:20, end time is estimated to be 12:20. We didn't travel any miles at all to get here, which is marvelous. We click over to the map. This shows us a good, where we are and stuff. And this will also, on any device, smartphone, anything else, if we click up the top here, this will take us to driving directions. Now, because I'm doing this on my Windows 10 machine, it's bringing up Bing Maps. But there we go. So we can now have driving directions on our app from where we are to where we want to go without having to actually come out of the app at all. So if you were using this on the phone, you'd just be switching over to a different app and you'd have your back in the top there to take you back to field service. Okay, so a bit more information about the job. As we said before, we also, so follow-up required, recommended monthly check based on error, service tasks that we need to do. So while he's here, he can be doing these various bits of tasks. That's 100% complete. The free estimate, yeah, that's definitely 100% complete. Marvelous. And the summer special, we definitely talked about that, 100% complete. Now, the last one here, collect customer signature. Now, again, the field service mobile application will allow you to collate customers' signatures on the device and then have those locked straight back into Dynamics 365 for referencing and stuff. So if we drop over to more here and go to signature, we can now literally take, signature, finger drawn or whatever else, as you like it, save that in there as a customer sign-off. So that now appears on here in the notes area as a signature. So that we're going to go back into CRM. When we'll drop back over to there in a minute, we'll see that logged against this booking request as a complete booking request. And we'll just head back over to here now. Other things we can do in this thing, obviously we can take products. We can take products out of our inventory stock if we've got a van with stuff in it, or if we've got, we used this and it was on this booking and it was for this asset. It's normal sort of field service stuff, whether it's taxable or not, which warehouse we're going to be taking it from. So in this case, it's going to come from truck one. No, it's not. It's going to come from the main warehouse. There's nothing in the truck one. And that saves that there. And then our stock back in 365 will then update. So you've got pretty stock management for the bits and pieces that field service engineers are going to be using. I'm just going to drop back over to 365 for a minute. There we go. There. Marvelous. So I'm going to come out of this one. Right, field service. So we've looked at work orders, we looked at the schedule board. Resource bookings is just basically a list view of the schedule board. So if you don't want to look at the schedule board, you want to look at a list, maybe to export it out to another system or to work with it from a list view, that's also available there. Assets, so if you're a company that has plant that you track with serial numbers and stuff like that, and you want to know what pieces of your information or your equipment the customer has, this is stored in customer assets. So we can see here, Litware, they've got a 12-inch security monitor, and they've also got this other 12-inch security monitor for some reason. And we can go into those and we can see any service cases or any work orders that have been related to this particular piece of equipment. So you get a history of an asset over time. And as we can see here, there's a bit of notes been put in the system here. I don't know what that is a picture of, but let's have a look. Oh, marvellous. Yes, there's our security monitor. It's masquerading as a kettle, but don't have a security monitor, so that was what that was. So you can take pictures through, again, because it's all mobile, you can use your phone or your tablet camera to take pictures of asset on site locations, take pictures of driving directions for other engineers who maybe want to find it difficult to get to the particular site. You can put notes on any record you like to, and they can come directly from the mobile device itself. Agreements are something that Warren mentioned at the start there, and that would be, if I had those set up, that would be you have an agreement, so you have a service level agreement effectively for field service. So similar to contracts and entitlements in basic CRM case management, agreements are an entitlement for that particular customer to receive field service effectively. So some customers may have purchased an additional contract with your piece of equipment that entitles them to have on-site service whenever they want, or they may not have done. So that's how agreements works into there. Obviously accounts and contacts are accounts and contacts. Time off requests is an interesting one. So if we just head back over to the app again here. So head back to the app. I'm going to go back to my main menu here. Now, as you can see down the bottom here, time off requests. So I can actually log myself a day off that I'd like to have tomorrow. There we go. I've already put that in the system there. So I'd like to have tomorrow off, please. Or Chris would like to have tomorrow off. He can save that. And then any managers or any resource bookers in the system will then see that in their view of time off requests here. So they can see Chris would like to have tomorrow off. What do we think about that? Okay, I think that's fine. So we can now from here approve that, and then he will be taken out of the schedule diary for tomorrow. So if I just hit there, approve that, there we go, a little approval window, and he's now got tomorrow off as far as the system is concerned. So he will now put back in his, because I'm offline, I'll have to refresh that. There we go. So that's now disappeared from the time off requests because it's been granted. If you had email or workflow set up in the background, you could then kick off time off, well done, you've got the day off tomorrow requests coming directly into his inbox. Again, inbox exchange can be tied into this app as well. So he can have one app to basically control his entire engagement from a field service engineer point of view and get everything in his one app there. So he doesn't need to go messing around in loads of different apps to pick up bits and pieces. Everything can be linked in back from here. Okay, so that's the first area here. Now this next area here, inventory and purchasing. Again, with a field service engineer, typically, in the most typical way that they work, they will be kind of a man with a van going out and doing repair, maintenance, installation, service call jobs, and they would have a van with bits and pieces in it that they would then need to say, well, I use this, this, and this on site, and then they needed a way to track that. As we saw in the app back there, so I'm just switch back over to there again. If I look at one of these ones here, you can, if I go into this resource that he's currently working on, go to products, we can, this is suggesting, because we're replacing a camera, it's suggesting that we're going to be using a camera. So in this case, we used this, and that came out of the main warehouse. So if we go down to the warehouses here, go to the main warehouse, this will now have fairly basic but fairly workable stock control. So if we look at the product inventory here, we will see in this particular warehouse we've now got, we did have 100, now we've got 99 security monitors. We've got apparently -2 security cameras and 249 surge protectors. Now, we got a delivery just the other day of, what were those things called? F95 security cameras. So we can go down to inventory adjustments. We can make a new inventory adjustment as if a new delivery has been made. Do a standard goods in. So I'm going to just put myself in, in fact, I'm going to say that Chris did that. There we go. And it's in the main warehouse. Marvelous. I hit save there and drop down the inventory adjustment to the actual products that we received. And now we can start adding in a delivery of new products that came in from the supplier today. So the F95s, all shiny in their boxes, now just turned up. So there we go. Oh, what did I do wrong there? There we go. F95. Primary unit, we got 45 of those come in, and it was an inventory adjustment, so we saved that and closed that. And then if we head back over to the main warehouse now, we'll see that we've now got, I would imagine it will say 43. I hope it'll say 43 because that's how mass works. So down here, down to the product inventory, and there we go. So now we've got in stock 43 F95 security cameras. We've got none on order, because you don't need any. Let's just maximize these out a bit so you can actually see what they say. So 43 on hand, none on order, none allocated to jobs. And so at the top here, there'll be a security monitors. We've actually defined the reorder point. So once that stock trickles down below 10 units, then we'll get a notification that we should be now reordering, and that will calculate that based on how quickly, or can calculate that based on how quickly we've historically been using them. So it will give you that warning in enough time for you to be able to not run out of things. Okay, so this is how this purchase order stuff comes in here. So if you've got the system set up with vendors, it's got attached to your products, and then you're not manufacturing them yourselves, you're buying them in and then installing them, then that's how purchase orders work here. Inventory adjustments and transfers we talked about. Right, RMAs, return to manufacturer authorization. So again, an RTV is return to vendor. So similar sorts of ideas, but used in different ways. So the customer, say for example, with the F95 security cameras, we are not the manufacturer of those. We are just an installer. We are a service engineering company supplying security equipment from various suppliers. We make a recommendation and we install on site. If one of those goes wrong, it's then you do an RMA, so that returns to the manufacturer. The manufacturer will say, okay, we accept that something's gone wrong with this camera, please send it back to us and we'll send you another one. And that's how, I'm not explaining how RMAs work, but that's what an RMA is. Whereas an RTV will just be a return to the vendor. So we don't want anything back, we just want to send that straight back to you. It doesn't work, give us some money back, please. So each of the different, if you're working with stock that's not your stock, it's vendor stock, then you can sort of control what typically would be done through, or some of which would be done through the ERP system that you might use, can actually be done straight through field service and controlled and generate RMAs and RMA receipts. Engineers can do that on site with the customer rather than having to do a complicated process of, well, you need to phone us up and get the form and then we send you the form and then you fill in the form. Everything can be taken care of on site. Engineer can pick up an RMA number on his tablet, can pick up the piece of information and just take it away with him. So gives you a lot of flexibility about how you're using that. If does apply to you. If you're making your own bits and pieces, obviously, then that's your own responsibility to replace bits. So, okay. So, where do I get to on my list? Right. What's the time? 10:32. So, heading back over to the main scheduling area here. So, where do I go? Field service, schedule board. So now I'm going to look at scheduling in these other two errant jobs that no one's actually booked in to do yet because they were far away. So there we go. Let's pick up. First one will be Woodgrove Medical. So click on it down the bottom here. We get an automatic zoom to where it is, and we can see, as you see here, open the schedule assistant from the line here. That will pop open. Maximize that up. It is another window, but that kind of does make it easy because then you can have both open at once. So you can have your schedule window open here, and you can have your scheduling assistant open here, and work them together. So I'm just going to maximize this one up here. So as you can see, we're going to need another 2 hours here. At the moment, we're going to start off with a 20-mile radius. If possible, we want to do this today. And as you can see on the characteristics here, this job will require an AR12 certification, whatever that is. I'll search the resources here. Do I have anybody available? I do. So we've got 2 engineers who could potentially do this job. We've got Elliot here. He could do the job arriving at 2:28, or we've got Kian can do it today or tomorrow. So he could get there today, 4:15, finishing at 6:15, or he could do it tomorrow, getting there at lunchtime and finishing just after lunch. We go over to the top here. We've got a little button called the map view of the schedule of resources. So because we've got 2 resources on here, if I go over to here, we should now see, there we go. So the star represents the job that we're trying to schedule, and then the 1, 2s, and 3s represent bookings that these engineers have already got in. So as we can see here, one of these guys is actually going all the way up. Where did it go? Oh, it's gone away. I thought I saw one up there. Okay, so as we can see here, someone's going over to Rochester, so it's unlikely that he's going to really want to come all the way back here again. Who is that? Let's click on him. That is Jeremy Ridey, so that's why he's not showing us him. We've got Elliot Taylor. He appears to be extremely close, so that looks good to me. So we'll say, Elliot, you are going to do this afternoon, and then all we need to do now is hit schedule and close. All the calculations are being done by the system, so it knows how far away it is. It's got an average idea of how long it will take to get there. Obviously, there are no estimates. It's not based on real time or anything, but you'll give it, based on the distances and travel and stuff. It's taking information from standard travel databases and stuff here, so it's just a calculation. It's not live. It's not an actual indication of how long it's going to take. It's just an estimation. But it will estimate that and include that if you want it to, or you can tick up the top here to ignore travel times and stuff if you don't want that to be involved. So if your engineers are responsible for their own travel time, then you tick that box and it would not include that. I'm going to schedule that one now. So I'm going to schedule that for Elliot. Again, hit refresh at the top here, and we can see now Elliot's now got this job just appeared in him. So at work order 43, we click on this, see a bit more information about that. It's an inspection. It's in Carshalton. So he is best placed to be there because he is quite local to that on this job because he's already in queue. Hit the refresh down the bottom here. We should only have one left to do. Yep, that's the Nod Publishers one. So again, double click this one open and maximize it up and back into the scheduler system. There we go. In this case, I believe this one was a little bit more out in the middle of nowhere. So it may find that we actually find that no one is currently with it. So in this case, there we go. So in this case, the characteristic required is building 12 access. So anybody who has allowable access to building 12 will be able to do this job. Anyone who doesn't have that characteristic will not be able to do this job. We'll look at characteristics in a minute. And search resources, and we found nothing. So nobody is currently available within 20 miles of that customer to do that job. So now we've got a couple of options. We can say, well, can anybody do, well, what are we looking at here? We're looking at 6th to the 8th. So that's nobody's available for the next 3 days to do that, or the nobody's within 20 miles. So now we're going to have to push the distance up a little bit. So let's say, okay, anybody within 40 miles? Yes, excellent. So now we can say, Eric, that is today. So it's a bit of a driving distance for him, but he can get there. So we're going to schedule him and close. It's actually not that far. It's only 27 miles, 38 minutes. Scheduling and close. Done. So that's now our work order board empty for the memo time. If we head back over to the schedule board again, here. We should have empty jobs down the bottom here. There's nothing unscheduled. Great. And so we can see now Chris, that job that he was on, we can now see that the second job has now been started. He's finished this first job. Leo's finished his first job. Kian's finished his first job. So the day is progressing. People are finished starting their jobs, getting on the way to the next jobs, traveling and whatever else. So it gives you a good view as people are interacting with the app, whether it be on their phone or on a tablet or whatever else, or even on a laptop. You don't have, mine's on a laptop. You don't need to have a tablet. You can run it from anything at all. They could actually run this if they were just using Dynamics 365. It's a bit overkill, but they could also do that as well. So they could interact with it in any way they wanted to. Okay, that's 10:38, so I think that's my time. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, and we'll do our best to help you out with that. But that's just a basic, quick once-round field service.
Great, so thanks for that, Daniel. So let's just finish off by taking a look at the licensing for the field service app. So this is exclusively available for Microsoft Cloud Services. If you're using Dynamics CRM Online, it's available as an add-on, and it's now available as part of Microsoft Dynamics 365. So this can be licensed as an individual app, and the apps in Dynamics 365 are aligned by job roles. So in the same way that you might have an individual who is licensed with a sales app on Dynamics 365, another person can have the field service app which reflects the requirements of their role. Individuals who need functionality across more than one app, for those people, a Dynamics 365 plan will always be the best value. For example, there may be an individual that needs to log cases and raise work orders, which is similar to the scenario that Daniel talked through earlier on, starting in the cases. And these guys should always be licensed with a plan, because that will cover full access across the field service and customer service apps, as well as all of the other apps in the Dynamics 365 offering. Finally, there's the team member license, and that gives light usage across all Dynamics 365 apps. This includes full access to contacts, accounts, and activities. It also gives users the ability to read data across Dynamics 365 apps subject to the usual security permissions. Specific to field service, this includes read-only access to work orders, schedules, and field service dashboards. Team member licensing isn't really realistic for any individual in a field service management role, but because team member licensing is included within the field service app, it does mean that these users have light usage across customer service, project service, and Dynamics 365 apps. So in that basis, it could be useful for a field service engineer to use. So that concludes our presentation this morning. We'll be staying online to answer any questions that you've got, but if you do want to find out more about the field service app, or if you have any Microsoft Dynamics requirements, we would be delighted to hear from you. We'll pause for a moment, but if you are leaving us at this point, many thanks for your time. I hope you found that's beneficial and has sort of given you a flavour of what the field service app